And good evening. Welcome everyone to episode 15 of Next Round Sports. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here this evening. This is Chris Porter here with my cohorts in crime, Jeff Amos and Caleb Culver. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Hola.
We're doing good.
Rangers are
Ready to
still
talk?
World Series champions, so we're good.
Yes, that's the main thing.
Still are. I've got the hat put up and safely away, ready to wear it all next year. So
Right.
good with that. Rocking the Dude Dad hat tonight. If you haven't seen him, look him up. He's good to make you laugh.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. All right. Well, we want to go ahead and jump right into our NFL talk here. We've got a lot to talk about here with this. For once, the Cowboys were the jinx both of your teams this week. But we'll go ahead and start with the Cowboys. And
oh man,
really, we don't have to talk about this a whole lot. It's already a nauseum. People.
Well, to me, this reminds me of Week 1. Like, it's just total and utter domination of the Giants again. This time, it just happened to have with a guy who basically came off the street, in DeVito.
He's still living with his mother. He's living with his parents, and his mother does his laundry and makes his bed. No, I said
props to him because he was running around for his life the entire game and still got 2 touchdowns and like 100 yards. So he looks at least like a serviceable backup. He looked better than Daniel Jones, I'd argue at times too.
Daniel Jones is terrible.
Barkley was doing okay, but the script was written to where Cowboys were just dominating so soon. And I think they were saying this was the most yards ever given up against the Giants, 640 yards. So that's a record there. You got the record for the most difference between total yards for Cowboys and the Giants.
Of course. Yeah, disparity. Yep.
Record as well set. Overall, it was a good game by the Cowboys. I think there's a couple holes you can point to in that kind of defense a little bit. And Tony Pollard's still not there. But this was, it's a win all around. I think some people are shitting on the Cowboys for like running up the score supposedly at the end. But
I don't think they're running up the score.
I don't either. That's what I'm saying. I don't either. But at the same time, some people are saying that. And I was like, they had the backups in. If you can't stop the backups.
Well, even then, they couldn't stop Dowdle even in the first quarter. He was running all over the place. He was running right up the freaking gut and just muscling that. He looked like a reincarnation of Marion Barber. Rest in peace, Marion Barber.
Maybe he's the change of pace guy you need with Pollard. Maybe
he's going to have
the bruiser and.
Well, that's the thing. He's big, he's solid, and he runs north to south. He runs right down the middle of the line. He doesn't try to dance around and try to get out there. That's what Pollard has to do because he's a speed guy. He's not big enough to go right down the middle and take on that middle linebacker and run him over. Dowdle is, but Dowdle doesn't have the speed to go, further than that. He can't go out and break it.
He's
take
not
it
the
for
ball
a run.
buster usually.
He's not.
But if you 20, 30-yard run,
you get him in space. He's quick enough that he can get out there. Don't get me wrong, and he's servicing that role perfectly because that's where we need him to be. And he's looking. Yeah. And a lot of people say, "Oh, he's looking the best that we have right there." Well, that's because they're keying in on Pollard. He's getting that backup rounds. They're not expecting that from him. They don't have tape on him. That's what it is. The thing that frustrates me about this is that I'm happy the Cowboys won, but they should have won this game. There's no reason they should have lost this game. They did what they were supposed to do.
Exactly.
But I've already seen the memes out there. People go, the memes are already going out there of people, have got, Mike McCarthy holding the Super Bowl trophy next to Dak saying Cowboy fans after they beat the Giants. I don't know many Cowboy fans that are saying that, but when I'm hearing, ESPN, Fox Sports analysts going, well, after this game, Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the league. He played against the Giants. There's no yes, he got over 400 yards. Everybody's going, oh, he's got 10 games of 400 yards. The only other person to do that is Patrick Mahomes.
Was finally utilized.
Did this against a terrible team. A terrible team. Now, their defense
what the Cowboys
have done. Good players. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You did what you're supposed to do. all this lauding and celebrating. That's the whole thing.
I can at least say your team did what it was supposed to do compared to both mine and Jeff's this week.
Well, true, and we're going to get to that here very shortly.
Oh, I know. I'm not jumping ship by any means, but I'm just saying.
But they did
at least did that.
But to me, is you look okay if you would have had gone in and beat the Eagles, then okay, and then you come out and have this dominant performance. Okay, now you can say something. If they were able to score and win that game against the Eagles like they should have done, now you could start saying all that stuff. But to say that after you got your butts handed to you by the Eagles, and then now you come out and blow out a terrible team with a third string rookie quarterback. No, you can't be here saying that.
Pulled off the streets.
You can't be saying that. There's a lot of proving that still needs to be done. Good win. Happy they won it. But I don't care that Dak threw for 400 yards. He's still got too much to prove that he can win a Super Bowl. Because, okay, you threw for 400 yards against a 2-win team. They're 2-8. 2-9.
They're vying for that.
I think the reality is. I think the reality is when everyone was watching this game, if you didn't maybe at the end of the season, which I think they still very well could be, if this wasn't the worst team in the NFL, I don't know what is, because this was not an NFL team that they went against on Sunday. This looked like an XFL team that they were going against the Giants. They were absolutely awful. It's not Tommy DeVito's fault. It's just like he has no business being in this situation right now.
No. Like I said, but I mean, he played well, so props to him.
But I will say this:
he did go in there and looked like a deer in headlights for the first 3 series, but he settled in. I have to give the kid credit for his first ever start as a rookie quarterback.
Running around.
He did, but to me, I think he played serviceably. Like as you said earlier, I think he could make himself to a good backup quarterback. He did not seem like it was too big. He came in, scored a couple of touchdowns after he settled down and finally got a hold of the game.
Yeah.
It's not like Brock Purdy come in where he actually had a whole bunch of talent that he could throw to and do something with, because he didn't. But hey, he did the best he could.
A couple things that I thought, and one we already touched upon, is the fact that, to me, I think it's evident now we have a 2 running back tandem with Rico Dowdle and Tony Pollard. I mean,
I'm hoping we have that at least.
I think that's pretty evident at this point.
I'm not sure if McCarthy's smart enough to put that in, though.
No, it has to.
I don't believe he is.
I think it's evident at this point. Also, too, as
I think it should be,
slightly, is the fact that Brandon Cooks finally, they got him involved and he went off on this Giant defense. That was encouraging to see. One thing that I can't figure out, and I don't know if it was health-based or if he was sick or something, but where was Micah Parsons on Sunday? To me, this would be a game to where you would think man, I could get 4 sacks on Tommy DeVito, and he wasn't anywhere to be found. Where was Micah Parsons?
He wasn't there in the stat line, but he was pressuring. He was taking up a lot of blocks, and he was freeing up other defensive players who didn't get sacked.
DeVito was running around and used that mobility to throw it away.
Because Micah Parsons, in one of my fantasy leagues, we have IDPs, and I have Micah Parsons as one of those players. Independent defensive players, for those of you who don't play fantasy football, who else to us, but most people who are watching us probably do. But I have Micah Parsons as one of my players, so I watch him every Cowboy game that I get. When they're on defense, I lock into where Micah Parsons is, and I watch him rush the quarterback. One, because it's amazing watching him play the game, watching him, swim through blockers and go through. So I watch. He was after there. He was after the quarterback. He was there. Yes, he wasn't getting the sacks and getting the tackles that we normally expect out of it. And yes, he has, to me, I've seen a bit of a drop off since Leighton Vander Esch was used as a spear to throw into him during the San Francisco game. So I've seen a little bit of a drop off from that game, from what he was doing before San Francisco to after. that he hasn't seemed to have been getting the stats that he was getting. I don't know if maybe that is because he is suffering from some kind of injury, or
honestly, I think that's
if
the
he's
Van Der
taken
Esch
on,
effect. I think Van Der Esch is good enough linebacker to be able to stuff the run and stuff and do the things that frees up Micah Parsons to get to the QB and to be the free rusher that he can be so great. But I think that's because Leighton Vander Esch is that good. He's a good linebacker. I think we forget that because he's overshadowed
is gone, and we did find out this week that he's gone for the season.
Unfortunately, another neck injury has laid low his season.
And Leighton Vander Esch is now this team's Sean Lee.
Yes.
All the talent in the world, but just cannot stay healthy.
I think the reality is at this point, when I saw Leighton Vander Esch go down, my thought was, why is he even playing anymore? Leighton Vander Esch needs to retire. I mean,
well, that's the talk after this injury is that he may never play again.
I mean, he has spinal stenosis. That's pretty damn serious, especially when you're a linebacker. That's not going to get any better, man.
No, and he's had his spine fused and neck fused.
If I were him, he has the rest of his life to go. I think he's a very intelligent player. I think he's someone that could perhaps maybe get into coaching someday. To me, he needs to hang it up and call it a day.
Well, that's the thing with a lot of professional players.
Yeah, but
it's it's hard for them to hang it up. Look at Brett Favre, for example. The guy could not put it away.
He was a
quarterback. I just won one.
He was a quarterback. I understand that, but it's hard for these guys to hang it up sometimes, even when they know they should. It's that drive to be a competitor. That's why they made it to the NFL, to the highest level.
It's hard. I'm just saying that I think it's evident that that his time has come to an end.
Well, one other person I wanted to give a little shout out on the defense, first round pick Mozzie Smith, getting in and stopping the run during the game, getting his name called out for really getting into the middle and stopping Saquon Barkley on a few plays. That's what they drafted him for. You haven't really heard his name this season. A lot of people have been like, why? He hasn't done anything. Why'd you draft him? He showed you why. He's the big guy in the middle, helping shut down the interior run. That's what you brought him in here for, because that's what their weak position was for. So good to hear his name a few times during the game of getting in there and stopping that. But that's really about it. I mean, there's not much else. Good win for the Cowboys. They've got Carolina coming up this next week. Some people said that might be a trap game. I don't think it is. Carolina's putrid. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's between them and the Giants. Yeah.
Well,
I don't see this as a trap game.
Honestly, too, after what happened against Arizona earlier this year, there's no opponent that the Cowboys are going to take lightly anymore.
Exactly.
They're not going to.
You hope not.
They're not going to take a team lightly anymore the rest of the season. If they get beat, they're going to get flat out beat. They're not going to ever take a team lightly anymore.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. We'll wait and see as that comes up here this next week. But anyways, let's go ahead and pivot over. First, we'll go ahead and go into the Texans, able to knock off the Bengals 30-27. What a slugfest in that game. And really,
the myth and legend of
CJ Stroud. People are saying he's the best rookie quarterback to come in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, I think, has him beat for that record right now.
I agree with you on that easily. I think it's a little too quick. They need to tap the brakes.
Yeah. Well, it's like he only needs 89,600 billion yards to finish this year, and he'll be the all-time leading rusher.
Or passer, exactly. Yeah. Well, I do have to say that I am contemplating putting him in my starting fantasy football lineup over Josh Allen this week.
He's already in mine.
They got Arizona. They've got Arizona this week.
I'd say he's already started.
Allen's got the Jets, so I think I'm going to have to put him in this week. I've already getting trade offers for him, but I think I'm going to have to hold on to him.
Right.
I got him early.
That was a surprise. And to me, the standout of that game, besides CJ Stroud himself, was the O-line for the Texans. I expected these pass rushers and Hendrickson and everybody for the Bengals to eat lunch on CJ Stroud, basically. Get back there, harass him. Okay, this is how we see how CJ Stroud handles the pass rush. But there wasn't one.
Mm-hmm.
There just really wasn't an effective pass rush most of the day.
To me,
let's see if he even got sacked. I believe he got sacked, but it was like maybe twice.
No, he got sacked
which is
once.
Oh,
to
that's
me,
even worse.
It was
he
a
got
Logan
sacked
Wilson, Trey Hendrickson combined sack.
I think
Okay.
we're starting to
Yeah.
see D'Amico Ryan's stamp on this team. His mentality being put on this team, and this team accepting that mentality of this head coach and what he's wanting to bring in. They believe in him, and they're proving it out there on the field and what he's doing. And I think that mentality, I thought it would take the full year, maybe into next year before maybe it would take hold, but they have looked so good the last few weeks.
Here too, because where did Eric Bellamy go to Texans? I can't remember where he went.
Eric Bellamy is with Washington.
Washington, that's right. Sorry. Okay.
Bieniemy, yeah.
Bieniemy, that's right. Yeah, he's making Sam Howell look good. Okay, for a second I was about to say, wait a minute, did he go to Houston? But thank you for correcting me on that.
Yes.
But this game too, yeah, I mean, it was crazy, the swings too, because Houston got out to that lead, and you're like, okay, this is weird. What's going on? And Burrow's still, I don't know. I don't know if he can be put in the top tier QBs anymore. He looks bad when he throws at times.
Well,
and he misses horribly.
Well,
like he threw behind Appel, I think, the tight end, whatever his name is, for that first interception in the fourth quarter. And then he almost overthrew a little short dink pass to his running back. And it's just like, what are you throwing? This pass makes no sense.
And we didn't get the game up here until after the Steelers game had ended. But just following the stats, CJ Stroud had a couple interceptions. He had a fumble lost early. I mean, it didn't look great going, for a while, but then he kind of took over the game as it went along. And I mean, it got closer at the end as they pushed it in, and as got that last field goal to tie it up 27-27. But
Jeff, Burrow's
get your team,
just
your opinion
this week, though.
So I mean, I think the mindset of this game was, look, obviously T. Higgins, he was fully out this game as opposed to playing injured, and I think Jamar Chase was not 100% going into this game whatsoever. So I think
he still got 124 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
I'm going to get to that. So, I think the mindset.
And Boyd was there too. I mean, Boyd had 117.
Right. But my point is, it looked like early on, especially on that first drive, the Bengals were able to move the ball very, very well, and they hit Trenton Irwin early on in the game, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to be able to utilize ulterior weapons.
They got a very early touchdown. That first touchdown, you're like, this is the Bengals game. This is what we expected. That offense.
It was 10 plays, 75-yard drive. And so after that, the Bengals did absolutely nothing. And so really at that point, I think the mindset was to utilize other wide receivers and Tyler Boyd to be the main pieces, and that was going to be enough to win, which clearly wasn't, because Jamar Chase wasn't. They felt he wasn't 100%, and then it got to the point where Joe Burrow, I'm sure it was Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, are just like, look, Jamar, you got to do something if you're going to be out here. Or Jamar's like, look, Joe, just give me the ball. And then that's what happened. Jamar Chase took over the game even when he's not 100%, and they almost came back and won this game. Also,
I disagree. To me, they fumbled this one away. Like, they had it in control, I feel like. And then the turnover, and then your defense let up a little bit, and CJ Stroud led them down the field. I don't think you almost came back. I think you gave this one away.
No, we almost came back. We had established the fact that we were not going to win this game. we gave the Texans every single we gave the Texans every single opportunity to win this game early on, and CJ Stroud threw a horrendous interception to Cam Taylor-Britt, which should have been returned back for a touchdown, although Tank Dell tackled him at the end.
And go ahead and verify on that. The last 8 possessions of the game: Bengals interception, Houston punt, Bengals interception, Houston interception, Bengals touchdown, Houston punt, Bengals field goal, Houston field goal. So right there, that's in those 8 possessions, you had 10 points from the Bengals, only 3 from Houston. So
but
that's the last 8 though.
That's the last 8. No, that's the last 8 right there. But we're saying throwing that away, those 2 interceptions for Burrow came there in those last 8 possessions, which is huge. But they still scored 10 points and had the game tied if they wouldn't have given up that last field goal.
Like I said, to me, they should have had it won once they picked off.
Well, exactly. The thing is, though, you have to remember, too, that Tyler Boyd had a wide-open touchdown pass that he dropped. That would have made that game 31-27. That was right in his hands.
I thought we didn't count drops, Jeff. I thought they just, went away based on that last Baltimore talk when I said it cost us the game. I thought those were just magical. They don't count.
Well, no, this was a flat-out wide-open drop that Tyler Boyd had to be.
Okay, I just want to make sure so we understand what a catch is. No, I understand where we call the drops catch.
Well, no, I'm not sure what drop you're referring to from Baltimore. That was as egregious.
The Steelers game, knucklehead.
That was not even remotely close to a drop. This was a wide-open touchdown pass. Y'all saw it. Everyone saw it. You saw it on bonus coverage in Pittsburgh. And to me, that they would have gone ahead 31-27. I'm not saying that the Texans couldn't have. I'm not saying that the Texans wouldn't have scored a touchdown if they had the opportunity to. But I think the main thing was, to me, y'all are referring to the second half possessions. I'm referring to the first half, because you score that touchdown right off the bat, and then you go punt, into first half, punt, field goal.
Well, that's why I said, like, the Texans went over you in that first half, and it was a surprise.
Right. And then Burrow forced a ball to Sample in the first half, or in that first interception, and then the second interception, Shaq Griffin got it in the end zone. That turned into touchback. And then, for whatever reason, Houston was throwing at that point, and CJ Stroud made the worst throw.
He made a rookie mistake.
Well, I mean, that's not a rookie mistake. That's a peewee mistake that he made that let the Bengals come back into the game. And I think the lesson learned here is that if someone is going to be slated to play, you play them right from the get-go. You don't have Jamar Chase do nothing the first half. You don't refuse to target him until
you think that's Zach Taylor's play calling, that he wasn't targeted?
I do. Yes,
or do you think this was Burrow in the huddle saying, okay,
no,
I got to change the play from this or whatever?
No, this was Zach Taylor. Because Jamar Chase did nothing the first half. And then when the game was on the line, when they had to make a comeback, they started utilizing Jamar Chase. And all of a sudden, the Bengals are putting up points on the board. What do you know? And so
when you use your number one offensive weapon, that tends to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So my point is, I don't care if he's 100%. If he's out there, you're going to utilize him, and you need to play him. Don't just
that's
put
why
him
he
out
said
there
he's
as a
7-11.
decoy. Don't put him out there as a decoy. And so when they started using him, that's when the game changed, and they almost came back and won. With that being said, however, I was very disappointed with our defense on Sunday. You don't let a guy like Devin Singletary get 30 carries for 150 yards. You don't get 30.
Yeah, he ran. Devin Singletary shouldn't be running all over you. He should.
And you only got one sack.
you don't allow Noah Brown, who's a third or number 2 wide receiver, get 172 receiving yards. You don't let Dalton Schultz pick you apart in the middle of the defense.
To me, that was CJ Stroud.
You don't let rookie Tank Dell get 14 targets in that game. That's a problem.
That's CJ Stroud. That's CJ Stroud picking apart your defense. That's not these rookies doing magical yards after the catch stuff.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Sure about that?
Let's go to yards after catch.
No, sure about that?
Yards after catch.
No, I didn't see that. That's not what I saw when I watched that game.
Well, we know you're a little.
So my point is that not only did we not execute to the best of our abilities for, I would say, 2.5 quarters. Defensively, we weren't there either, and this is also too. So and also too, just the mindset of the Bengals locker room. Usually, even after a loss, there's still some sort of. Let me finish. So after. I
know he got the claws out now.
No, so in the locker room after the game, usually they have some sort of sense of confidence and just they're willing to talk and they're engaging and they're anticipating, the best looking forward. This locker room was filled full of silence after that game because they know their backs are against the wall right now. And you have to beat Baltimore tomorrow night. And I think they will, actually, because I think this team is...
You shut your mouth.
I think
they got a chance, but we'll get into that.
This team is... They have their backs against the wall. And I think, by and large, other than the 2.5 quarters against the Texans, this team has been clicking on all cylinders.
Take a long time to make a point, sir.
And so I'm going to let you go into talking about Baltimore, but I think this Baltimore.
Well, I got another question for you before we hop on to the Baltimore bandwagon that is currently ablaze.
I'm not jumping on that.
Do you think? Well, I know you're not. I'm not asking you to. But do you think this is a trap game after you had to go through the Bills and the 49ers? Do you think there's a little bit of a letdown as to why this performance came in?
I don't think so. I think it was really due to health. I think at least from an offensive perspective, and that as far as the defense is concerned, I think there are too many times in the secondary where they got picked apart, and also too the run defense, as we touched on earlier, was atrocious. You can't allow Devin Singletary to get 30 carries for 150 yards. No. So I think it was a failure on the defense, and then a lack of a healthy receiving game. And also, too, that goes back to the play calling and adjusting your play calls and making sure you get everyone involved, which they did a decent enough job on that first drive, but after the Texans figured them out on that first drive, they had no answers for it. So this also goes to coaching as well.
Cincy's got to figure out what they're going on here because with this loss, they are sitting in last place in the AFC North.
Sure.
So not the place that they wanted to be or expected to be.
And also too, say if you are contending for a wild card with Houston has the head-to-head with you right now. So.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, good call, Jeff. Yep. But yeah,
it didn't help with the Steelers beating the Packers, and then of course, the Ravens losing to the Browns there at the end.
I mean, this was the time where the Ravens were supposed to build that division lead, get a little bit of comfort area before you start kind of a little murder's row in their schedule coming up. But Baltimore couldn't do it. I mean, the theme with Baltimore has been stay close, wait for Baltimore to fall apart in the second half, and get your win. That's been the unfortunate thing. Now, the two NFC teams we blew out, so they weren't close or anything to do pressure. But, I mean, you're thinking, okay, the first half, you get a pick six in the first like 2 or 3 plays for Kyle Hamilton. Like, okay, this game's starting out Ravens' way. Finish the first half 17-9. You're like, okay, that's not bad, but we're still
17-3. Oh, first half, 17-9. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, 17-3 in the first quarter, even more. You're like, that's even better. But you're just like, what the heck? I mean, there was hints and signs because this Browns team was moving down the field. They moved down the field, and it was the defense in the red zone that stopped them consistently in the first half and held them to field goals or no points. So there was a little sense of trepidation to me going into that second half, knowing that Baltimore is not a second half team. This could come back and cost us. We've got to get some points on the board and finish this off. And Lamar Jackson is notoriously bad against man coverage, which Baltimore plays, or excuse me, the Browns play more than anybody else in the league. The second half just kind of went to shit. Like, you come out and you score a touchdown with Odell Beckham, and you're like, okay, we got the momentum again, we're going. And then it was basically all Baltimore all Browns after that. And they just marched down the field, got points. That being said, the Ravens had control of it. If they could have gotten down the field or at least had a long drive right before Greg Newsome's pick six interception that bounced off one of the D linemen from the O line, they could have shut the door on this team. Again, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Greg Newsome got the ball back, ran it back, and they missed the extra point, luckily, so it's 31-30. Baltimore gets the ball back. They start driving down the field, and they have a 3-and-out, basically. Now, there's one weird thing to me where Zadarius Smith for the Browns went down, looked like he was injured a little bit, took a long time to get up, but the play clock didn't reset. So the Ravens got a delay of game because they were expecting that clock to reset because Zadarius Smith sitting there on the ground for like 9-10 seconds and had to be helped up. So I think that's a little shitty right there and kind of helped kill that drive. But again, at that point, you shouldn't be in that point to where that cost you the game. But little shitty and weird on the refs in my apartment that's not a reset of the play clock when a player's down that long.
Yeah, but what about Lamar Jackson though? What is?
Like I said, he sucks at man coverage historically, and overall he was playing decent. But the second half, the adjustments were made by the Browns, and they got to him even more, and he wasn't as effective in the second half. They were closing down some of those loopholes, and Mark Andrews, the tight end, really wasn't a factor. 2 catches for 44 yards.
Right.
Yeah, they shut Mark down.
And also, too, you had no conventional running game whatsoever. I mean, Gus Edwards did nothing, and so the only
Miles Garrett was feasting off the side too, which brings me up to another point too: is injuries again. Ronnie Stanley's now out. Marlon Humphrey has gone down with a knee injury. We don't necessarily have any official word yet how long he's going to be out. So we just lost our top cornerback, and we lost our left tackle, and they're both out for the game coming up against the Bengals already. They're already listed as out.
Mm-hmm. And T. Higgins obviously will be out for that game.
Yeah. But that being said, it's just a heartbreaking game loss, really. And it continues the unfortunate trend of Ravens' second half woes. They let teams in. But that being said, I do want to bring up that I think Ronnie Stanley may be cut from the team at the end of this year. I think he's going to be cut to save $8 million.
Well, I mean, if it's only an $8 million hit, then it could be the case. Yeah.
That's how much it frees up. That's how much it frees up. That's not how much the hit is. The hit's only like $4 million.
Well, see, even better.
You save $8 million.
I think that with a guy like Ryan Stanley, on paper he's an all-pro looking tackle, but
he hasn't been the same after the injuries, and he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the bulwark you thought you had there.
Sometimes you got to move on.
Yeah, like I'm expecting him to be cut. I'm expecting Keaton Mitchell, excuse me, sorry, I had to look up his name real quick, to eat more into Justice Hill's run share.
I sure hope so, because I picked him up in fantasy, and he really just helping me out here.
Because I mean, he had some good starts this game too.
Well, I mean, I think,
but
I think he needs to. It may get to the point as the end of the year approaches where he's your feature back, not even Gus Edwards anymore.
Well, Gus Edwards could be your touchdown goal line guy, and
your Mike Allstott touchdown vulture.
Yeah, your middle guy.
Trash can Tolbert.
Now, really, the biggest story from this game, though, to me, though, is that Cleveland can relish the win all they want, but they ended up losing Deshaun Watson on season injury, shoulder surgery on his throwing arm. So that right there, you're only a game. Cincinnati's only a game behind Cleveland right now in the standings. This, I think, could really affect. I mean, who was it that they had come in? They had what was his name? The PJ Walker.
Come
in for them. And he looked good, but I don't know if he can help take him into the playoffs.
The funny part, too, is they had Dobbs before the year as their backup QB and traded him to the Cardinals.
They did. And now Dobbs is just tearing it up over in Minnesota. Looks like he's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And good for Dobbs. Good for him. Because I even though he beat the Cowboys with Arizona, I go, hey, he's taking advantage of his situation. He knew he wasn't going to be the guy there. It was Kyler Murray's job, but he was able to play himself to where he was able to come in for an injury and is succeeding there in Minnesota.
And
Just good for
Murray,
him.
I think he's going to start this week.
Also, Josh Dobbs is a true aerospace engineer.
True,
he really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
he is.
He works for NASA.
Yeah, I mean, he shouldn't even be in the NFL right now, but he is,
and he's succeeding.
And he's
succeeding to survive.
Yeah, but like I said, this Bengals-Ravens game on Thursday,
I think
all
it's
black
the game
for the Ravens. It's game of the week, I think, for sure. Now we're biased, so Porter can tell us to
It could be Chiefs Eagles. That's another one on Monday, but
that's possible. Yeah.
Well,
honestly, not the
implications for this. I mean, let's say the Ravens lose, which they're not going to. That drops them to 7-4. Cincy would move up to 6-4.
But you also have the Browns playing the Steelers this week. That also can help with those implications. And the Steelers are in second right now. They're second right above
in
Cleveland.
So they would move up because they have the tiebreaker over the Ravens because they beat them earlier this year.
Exactly. That could put the Steelers in as the number one team.
I did want to bring up
West.
this crazy stat too. The fact that we're this far into the season. The total time the Ravens have spent trailing before the last couple of seconds in the Browns game was 28 minutes and 46 seconds. That's the longest they have not held a lead or been tied with another team.
That is
second
impressive.
place is the Chiefs at 80 minutes and 9 seconds. So I was like, that's just a crazy freaking stat right there. But the fact that you still lost 3 games like near the end is not a good sign.
It's not. It's holding that off there at the end, but that's also just a good quality. They had to give everything they had to be able to beat you. So
true.
There's 2 different ways to look at it there.
One stat that I wanted to give for the Bengals too is that
now you got to throw another one.
No, 1-4 in the AFC. That's the worst in the AFC conference, and then also worst conference record of anyone in the NFL, with the exception of the Carolina Panthers, who are 0-6 in this.
Right.
And if the Bengals go down to the Ravens on Thursday, then they'll be 1-5. So.
Yeah, this game's huge for both teams.
Yes.
Well, one game I wanted to touch on from last week before we go ahead and wrap this segment up is the Frankfurt game, and the Colts. Terrible win, but a win 10-6 over the Patriots. Patriots now at 2-8. The last time they were 2-8 was the 2000 season.
And that's
the year before Tom Brady.
Very first year.
That was the first year of Belichick and the very first year of Brady, but Brady wasn't playing, so in all intents and purposes, that doesn't count.
Yeah. No, very true. Very true. That's crazy. Yeah.
Matt
But
Jones
also-
was benched again.
Yep,
Zapped through
for
the
Zappy.
interception there at the end. There's a lot of talk of Belichick being on the hot seat and not being with the team next year.
Yeah. He'll be there though. You can't.
Well, I
fire
mean, at the
Sith Lord.
at the trade deadline, there were a lot of rumors that he was going to get traded to Washington.
That would be a more possibility than him getting fired. Is him being traded? I can see that happening before getting fired.
Well, Kraft I still think Kraft could can him at the end of the year. I don't think he's going to let him go. If he's going to fire Belichick, he's not going to do it midseason. He's going to wait to the end of the season and then can him.
Yeah,
and then
Marcy
maybe
does
get
what he
Mike,
talks about
and
Tom.
then maybe get Mike Vrabel.
There's a lot of talk that Vrabel is
Vrabel
near apparent that they would bring him over,
but there are a couple of things I want to bring up too before we jump ship. So if we want to finish more about this, let me know. With the Patriots,
go for it.
Okay. So kind of as we mentioned a little bit off camera before we started, TJ Watt has now broken his brother's record for sacks in the first 100 games. He has 80 to 79.5 for brother JJ, who wished him luck and said, break all my records on a recent podcast with him. He's like, I don't care. You do you, man.
If you get someone's going to do it, at least it's your brother.
Right. This week had the most game-winning field goals since 1996, I believe it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
impressive.
I mean, kickers earned their money this week, and I know 2 of those games, unfortunately, that ended in a field goal win for their respective teams. Oh, and I should mention too that. I think it was the Ravens game. Sorry, I might be getting this one confused with the Bengals. No, it was the Ravens. The Ravens are on the field, and at the last field goal, he misses the field goal. The Browns missed the initial field goal to win the game. But the Ravens had 12 defenders on the field. So he gets a second chance, and you know he's not missing that second chance, and he kicked it through. So I forgot about that.
Also too, the thing is on Monday night, you have to remember the Broncos, they missed a 41-yard field goal to win the game against Buffalo.
The Bills,
that was wide right. And then Buffalo had too many men on the field.
That's true. They did too.
And not only that, how many times
the Broncos won the game?
And how many times have they gone to kick the field goal and the defensive team is called timeout to ice the kicker? He missed it on that timeout and then kicks it and wins it. You know,
right?
That's just at those times. That's when you have to be disciplined and you have to know how many people are out on the field. You have to know that. Know if you're supposed to be the guy that's supposed to be on or off.
Yeah, like these should be simple mistakes.
And the coaching staff also on top of them of knowing, okay, who's out there, who's not supposed to be out there, and knowing the situation. So, but hey, we'll see what happens there with the Patriots.
Yeah, don't forget one of the games we mentioned last week that we thought was going to be good. To me, just proves the demise of the Jaguars, the 49ers Jaguars.
Oh, yeah, that game was a complete, utter blowout. I was very disappointed with that game.
Oh, very true. Same.
Well, I mean, when the 49ers are on,
when they're healthy and on,
there's no better team in the NFL than them.
Their defense was hitting on all cylinders on that game.
Yeah. Like I said,
just like the Cowboys, if the defense is hitting on all cylinders and stopping them and you're able to get out to an early lead, then they can pin their ears back and go for it. It's the same thing. That's what the 49ers and the Cowboys both exceed at. If you can get out to an early lead, the offense can, then the defense can pin their ears back and get after the passer, which is what they do best.
One game that I want to touch about very quickly next week is the Eagles-Chiefs Monday night game. How do you feel?
So that's the only other one I think that's even worth mentioning.
How do we feel about this game?
Chiefs are going to kill them.
I will feel very good if the Chiefs blow them out of the water.
Yeah,
Just
and I think
blow
they
them
will.
out of the water and show them that they are not the elite team in the NFL that everybody seems to think that they are.
Yeah, no, like there's Eagles fans out there who look at the rest of the schedule, and like I think I may have been talking to Jeff before we got online here. There's the Chiefs, then the Bills, then the 49ers, and then the Cowboys are the next 4 games for the Eagles. And there's Eagles fans saying, "Oh, we're going to be 16-1 by the time we finish this year." I'm like, "Are you crazy?" It's like they're going to lose to the Chiefs, and they're going to lose to the 49ers.
Bills they might be because the Bills are looking terrible right now. They're not looking good after they just lost to Denver.
The Bills they might,
No.
The Bills are just God. Like they may be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I don't know. Although apparently I saw a meme where the Chicago Bears use every single pick on as many QBs as they can in this draft.
I saw that as well. Just taking every draft pick, taking a quarterback.
Right,
so
yeah, like
whatever.
Sam Rattler, 169. Caleb Williams, number 1. Forget who number 5 was, but yeah, it was funny. But yeah, no, the Eagles should lose that game, and I think they're going to lose it pretty handily.
Yeah, looking through the schedule next week. Are you sure you guys don't want to talk about Cardinals, Texans? I mean,
No.
Dolphins, Raiders. I mean,
right?
Chargers, Packers.
Yeah, Titans, Chargers.
I'll say this right here. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. The Cardinals are going to beat the Texans on
Ooh.
You think Kyle Murray's had enough of Call of Duty?
I think with Kyler Murray returning, he adds a new element to this Cardinal team, obviously. And I don't think the Texans have faced any kind of other, with the exception of Lamar Jackson, and that was all the way back in week 1. I don't think they've faced anyone that's remotely close to the mobility.
So you're calling this a trap game for Houston?
Well, I'm not saying it's a trap game necessarily.
Well, it should be because the Houston's 5-4. They have a winning record. They're coming on the hot streak.
Actually, no, you can't say.
And they're favored by 5 points.
Actually, Porter, you can't say it's a trap game because you want to know why? Because you know who they have after the Cardinals? Jacksonville at home. I think this is a trap game I think this is, in fact, a trap game for Houston. And I think the Cardinals are going to go on the road and win this game. Because I think Kyler Murray is going to find plays to pick apart the Houston Texans secondary. I think they'll be able to utilize James.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if this pays off for him.
And I think the Cardinals are actually going to win this game on Sunday.
All right. Well, we will be able to discuss that
for the rest of the week. Looks like he could almost win out very easily.
A long way to go before we're predicting the Houston Texans winning out.
Very true. But that is one game that we'll go ahead and bring up next week and see if Jeff's prediction came true. All right, we're going to take a quick break here for a moment. We'll be right back into some college football. And welcome back from the break. We're ready to jump full-fledged, feet first, right into college football. And some
I'm just going to put my toe in the water
games this last week. Oh, I'm full on, waist deep in. We've jumped in, wading around right now.
Oh, yeah. Nope.
Big game, a lot of big games. We're just going to touch on a few of the big top ones and relate them in here to this coming week. First one I want to jump into is Michigan, Penn State. That was the game of the week. Got to watch a lot of this game. And the big story coming out of this is really off the field. Jim Harbaugh now suspended from the team. The athletic director for Michigan came out and blasted the NCAA for this. And
I like how Michigan's fan base is this, woe is me. But I guarantee you, if this was Ohio State that was going through this, Michigan would be wanting to scorch earth.
They would be leading the parade. They would be leading the mob of pitchforks and
they would.
Torches.
But
to do
not only did they beat Penn State, they beat them so convincingly they didn't have to pass in the second half, if I remember right.
No.
Like they just kept running the ball at that point.
Well,
Now, part of that is just to kill the clock, but they still just matriculated down the field, as old Hank Strain used to say.
After this game, Penn State fired their offensive coordinator because their offense looked completely flat. Like,
it's looked inept against the big teams, like Ohio State, Utah.
They look terrible through that. They made the Giants look good.
Yeah, that's bad. But yes,
it is. But college team, pro team, whatever.
Yeah,
but still, their offense has looked lethargic for what they were supposed to be this year, and this was Penn State's opportunity to take a bit. Yeah, they already lost to Ohio State, but they lost close. Like, it wasn't a blowout. They were in that game. This was the game where they could have really stepped up and really took the next step in the program. And offensively, like, the defense tried. The defense actually played decently
well. That's the thing with Penn State.
End.
Their defense has been there.
They've had a great defense.
Good defensive team.
But when that defense is out on the field the whole time, the offense looks terrible, which is goes in turn why the offense coordinator got canned after this game. And he should have, because they looked lethargic. That's the best way. They just looked like they were running through mud while Michigan's defense was just running on normal grass. Yeah. I mean, that's what it looked like.
Right. Yeah. And what did we discuss going into this game last week? If Penn State doesn't win a game like this, when are they ever going to beat Ohio State or Michigan? They failed once again. And like you said, Chris, that Penn State offense was molasses. I remember I was watching this game with my brother when it was a one-score game, and they're just like, I cannot recall a one-score game that seemed where it was flat out impossible for Penn State to come back and actually tie. This was when it was 17-9, and it's just like, it's a one-possession game technically, but there's no way in hell.
It felt like a 3-4 possession game at that point.
Yes, exactly.
It's like you were in the hole. Deep.
There was just no way. There was no way Penn State was going to come back and win this game. And again, you have to do something if you're Penn State. I don't know what firing your offensive coordinator is going to do at this point, considering.
It's like the defensive coordinator for USC got fired 2 weeks ago. That's too late.
You need it. You got it when you have a piss poor performance like this. You have to have a scapegoat. Somebody's got to fall on the sword. It's not going to be the head coach.
Yeah, it's going to
not all the time, but it's going to be a coordinator, because you have to at least get somebody high. It's not like you can fire the quarterback's coach and say, "Oh, all right, we're doing something about it." No, it's going to be the coordinator who's going to fall on that sword.
Exactly, and also too, another thing that that comes to mind on this game. I remember. I was texting my brother about this as well when he was out of the area. It was I texted him and said, Michigan doesn't have a coach, but they are out coaching Penn State in this game. They at the start of this game, they went with the traditional drop back pass, and then they realized, like, oh shit, we're going to get sacked because Penn State, as we have discussed ad nauseum all year, has a really good freaking defense, and they have a great pass rush and great secondary. And you have to also give credit to J.J. McCarthy. Granted, I know he only threw 8 times in this game, but this is, but the quick decision making that he made throwing the ball at the beginning of the game catalyzed this offense to the point to where they could hand off to Blake Corum, and Blake Corum just dominated this game.
He ran all over the place. He ran everywhere.
I think Blake Corum made a really
he's
good
looking case. He's one of the top running backs.
Case for the Heisman. I think he made a great case for the Heisman.
I don't think he made a case for Heisman. Maybe Doak Walker, but not Heisman. Well, not Doak Walker.
He's looking like a second or first round pick for sure.
Okay, Doak Walker maybe, but not Heisman.
Walker maybe.
Well,
He's
He
one of
had
the
a hell
best
of a
running
game.
backs in his
Well,
class, most likely.
He did have a hell of a
heck
game. He did have he had a heck of a game, and they couldn't stop him. And at that point, why are you going to do it? Michigan saw, okay, they can't stop Corum. So they continued to run him and pound him and basically said, Penn State, we're going to do this until you stop it.
Yeah.
And they
They
never
basically
No.
they went to playing Iowa football.
Well, what's
Play
weird
defense
to
and
me, too,
run
is
the
they
hell
had
out of
two
the ball,
running
and
backs
Penn
that
State
averaged
couldn't
5
stop
yards per carry. They had two running backs average 5 yards per carry.
Right.
That's a little crazy. It's such a
Absurd.
vaunted defense. Like, how did you have two running backs average 5 points a carry? Both of them have at least 10 carries.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. You thought, like, probably for Penn State, oh, Blake Corum's not there. We get a break with Donovan Edwards coming in. Then he gets 5 yards, too. It didn't matter who
What-
we're handing off the ball to at that point. They're getting 5, 6, 7 yards every single time. Effort.
That run defense
and they
is just
weren't
atrocious.
they
which
weren't
is
well they
not something
weren't
we've
getting
seen.
that at first, but they were able to get it as the game went along, especially with the offense going 3 and out and not giving their defense any rest. So that defense, no matter how good they are, it doesn't matter. You can have they've shown that even the 49ers shown it. If you're not getting rested and you're not getting some time out there and it's completely going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and you're back on the field, yeah, you're going to get rocked a few times. And you're going to give up some big yards. That just happens because your guys are just so tired because your offense isn't helping them out. You've got to keep those long offensive drives, those extended offensive drives are the best thing for defense because you let those guys get the rest to be able to then come in and play with more of a burst because they know they're going to get their rest later on to catch their breath as the offense stretches out drives. And Penn State could not do that offensively to help their defense at all at the entire game. So yeah, and that's football 101. Wear the defense down and then let your running back pound him and pound him and pound him at the end of the game when those defensive players are tired and they're really racking up the yards and actually extending those from maybe 2 to 3 yards a carry to 5 to 8 yards a carry because you're playing those tired defense players that have been pounded all game that have been out there on the field all game. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And also, too, it just, I can't recall a game in quite some time to where it was so hard for a team to get a 3rd down and 2 or 3rd down and 1. It's just like when Penn State had the ball in those situations, it felt like 3rd and a mile. It was just impossible for them to gain anything in short down in 3rd and short situations. They just could not convert it. It was truly unbelievable. It was one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen at this level.
Exactly. And I feel like
I don't know,
I
don't grant Michigan's defense. I mean, it was good. It's a good defense, but I mean, this is Penn State's offense. We know their shit. So not being able to move, that's just Penn State's offense. They could move against Ohio State. They can't.
Well, at the same time, though, Penn State has, elite offensive line. For example, that Olufasanu, or however you say his name. Olufasanu. He's the premier left tackle. He's going to be a top 5 pick in this draft.
That's great. Does he run the ball? Does he move the ball?
No, what I'm saying, though, is that
they weren't getting sacked from the left side. That's what it was.
No,
that's fine.
My point is
Okay.
that they had the offensive line personnel to get 1 or 2 yards, and they still couldn't do it.
And that's again.
I think that was so. Well, I think you have to give Michigan some sort of credit.
I give Michigan some credit. I'm not saying I said they're a good team. They're a good defense. But to me, this is like just saying that's the greatest defense you've ever seen when we know Penn State's offense is shit.
Why are they not legendary?
They're not legendary.
It's like the Cowboys beating up on the Giants and saying, "Oh,
if they're legendary, then they will do the same thing to Ohio State's offense."
Yes.
If they do that to Ohio State's offense,
I hope they
then I will agree with you.
I know y'all.
We'll see. We will see. We'll see how that happens. But I feel like we're starting to beat this dead horse over and over again.
Yeah.
So I think it's time. We need to go ahead and jump over to the other game we really wanted to talk about, and that was Texas TCU. And even though it was in Fort Worth, this was a little too close for comfort for the Longhorns. And you got to start getting. You do get Quinn Ewers, and there's already been so much talk about Arch Manning. Okay, where's his next destination? Because he's not playing. These people need to shut up because they're not going to play him at any point and risk his red shirt. No.
Yeah, there's no point
this is
in that.
Stupid. I've looked at all this and seeing these teams that he's going to. No, he knew he wasn't playing this year. He's not going to just because the injury Quinn Ewers. He's not coming in. They're not risking the red shirt. He understands that. He's not an idiot. He's not sitting there whining about he's not playing because he's not that kind of kid. Like, shut up. Stop it.
Yeah. And honestly, he's going to be the starter next year.
Mm-hmm.
He is. No matter if Quinn Ewers stays or not.
The disturbing thing is that
the disturbing thing is a 20-point quarter. That's what's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and this has been a trend throughout the entirety of the Sarkisian era at this point.
This is true.
Even
late
going
game
back
letdowns.
We could go back last year, but even this year, K-State, they could have easily blown that game. U of H, if that spot wasn't a yard and a half off, they could have easily lost that game. And then even going back to last year, when you're talking about the Kansas State game, even a year before, the Oklahoma State game that they blew a year before, the Iowa State game they almost blew last year, the Texas Tech game that they did blow. You could go on and on for times where they have dominated in the first half and have failed to adapt to second half adjustments, or in this case,
say they don't
fourth quarter adjustments.
Yeah, they don't. They play to their team, basically. They play down to whoever they're playing against. Or they play up.
That's another thing. They play down to their competition. That's another thing. You're exactly right.
They do. And they also had an injury to Brooks, who I believe is out for the season as well. And that's going to really hurt.
Yeah, I was about to say, the main thing, too, I would say the main thing about this game is that they lost Jonathan Brooks to a torn ACL. He's done for the year. And that is a devastating loss. That is a devastating loss.
Yep, because he came off this game, 21 carries, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's been a monster all year for him. He's really, taken on that Bijan Robinson role that they needed someone to fill after he got drafted by Atlanta. And that's going to hurt. That is really going to hurt. But we'll see. It's got to be next man up. We got to go from that. And using this, game here, close win over TCU, as a segue into next week's game, where the Longhorns will be on the road again, traveling up to Ames, Iowa to face Iowa State, and weird things happen in Ames. Anyone will tell you that. There's been so many upsets Iowa State has had.
Has been a much better team in the past, too, and that's why weird things have happened. I don't think they're the same team that they've been in the past.
Well, true. That is true. But at the same time, there's times that they shouldn't upset teams that they do at home. It happens all the time. To me, this is a game coming in, especially after doing this with TCU, losing Jonathan Brooks for the season, Quinn Ewers just getting back from the injury. There's a lot of bad things that could happen here, especially with other upsets that have happened so far in this season, that I would not be surprised if the Longhorns come in and play down to their opponent and get rocked there in Ames. I would not be surprised about that because it's happened in the past, not just to the Longhorns. It's happened to Oklahoma. It's happened to different teams. Baylor, I believe it's happened to. I mean, Iowa State plays very well at home.
Yes, this is a very scary game for Iowa State. And also, too, you have to take into account the fact how
scary
well
Iowa State.
Scary game going against Iowa State, scary game for Texas going against Iowa State. So
I knew what he meant, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize.
Wait a minute. You're good.
I apologize, misspoke there, but the ironic thing is that Iowa State is only 6-4 right now, but they're 5-2, quietly 5-2 in the Big 12 this year. This team has a legitimate chance of playing in Arlington for a Big 12 championship, which seemed impossible when they were losing to my brother's when they lost to my brother's Ohio Bobcats back in September. This team has a truly legitimate chance of going to the Big 12 championship and going to a New Year's Bowl. And they have been red hot defensively. Anthony Beck's son is their quarterback, who's, again, one of those classic Iowa State quarterbacks who he's not very flashy, but he gets the job done, very efficient. And Rocco Beck, this guy, I think Iowa State wins this game on Saturday night. I would hate to see Texas season come to an end like this in terms of competing for a national title, but this is a scary game. Chris, as you alluded to, Ames, Iowa, and especially this time of year is a very, very tough place to play. And I feel like Texas has, by and large, starting with that OU game, with the exception of the BYU game, they have played just on the edge they've played on the edge. Every single game is a nail biter. And I just don't think you can play that kind of football and expect not to get a loss. So this game,
the matchup predictor right now,
Texas scares the crap out of me.
This matchup predictor has Texas here on the ESPN app has the Longhorns is a 78.4% chance of winning this game.
That's bullshit.
7 point. They're over a touchdown point differential to win too, according to Vegas.
I don't care what that's. I know the FPI, and I agree. That statistic is a very reliable statistic, but at the same time, I sometimes you just have to throw statistics out the window. To me, this would be like a 55-45 chance for Texas to win statistically. If you
in the last 5 games,
like the Mr. Remain.
Iowa State is 4-1. They only lost 2 weeks ago to Kansas, 28-21, and they've been dominating everyone they've played. TCU, Cincinnati, Baylor, and BYU. They've beaten the snot out of. And Texas in the past 5 games also 4-1. The loss to Oklahoma, but barely beating Houston, destroyed BYU, Kansas State in overtime, and then
Jeff said their
TCU.
defense has been pretty good, holding teams to about 20 points on average, and many under that. But I don't know. This is one of those weird games.
It's going to be one that's going to be
Iowa State, I don't think is as good as they've been in the past, but like you said, the Brooks injury, Ewers coming back, history between these two teams, they know each other, and the conference record you've got going on right now. Iowa State, I think, is playing for something for sure. I don't know if Texas feels they are. That's the problem. I don't know where Texas Hearts is. I don't know if it's in this race or not. They can say, oh, we want the championship, but you don't see it on the field.
No, you don't. And that's the thing, is that to get into this playoff, they're going to need some help. They're going to need some help and get some other teams to lose out. But the thing is, when you're in this position, the only way you can help yourself is win games. You got to go. You have to continually winning. Play your schedule, and you have to let the cards fall where they lie. When you have that loss to OU, that's just what you have to do with. You can't do anything else with that. So, pivoting over to the other game this week that I am intrigued to watching, and I know we all are intrigued in watching, especially Jeff. Jeff's Oregon State Beavers, 11th in the country, going up against the number 5 Washington Huskies. Huge game here in Oregon State. And
this
is one game
to Utah. That was a slugfest Washington had against Utah. They only pulled it out late coming out.
It was.
Those receivers were dropping passes too that looked so good against Oregon. It was
to
not
me,
a pretty game, and I credit
this is
Utah's
Oregon
defense for
State's.
that.
This is Oregon State's statement game right here. This can be their statement game. This is who they need to beat.
Yeah, and this is a game that's going to be on national network television on ABC. The whole country will get this game, and this is a statement game to where Oregon State, again, we discussed this even before the season started, to where if they have a snowball's chance in hell in getting in a Power 4 conference or whatever it's going to be, this is a game to where they can get in. Now, granted, they lost a very close game to Washington State when Washington State was playing at their peak, and Arizona's been unexpectedly good. So those are their only 2 losses, both of those games on the road. They've dominated at home all season long. Gigi Olangalele, he hasn't been great, but he's been efficient enough to win games. They're doing the 2 running back system at this point. Damian Martinez is really taking the lead on that.
Doesn't that mean you don't really have a running back, as you've mentioned before, when you have more than one that's like really good?
Well, Damian Martinez has over 1,000 yards, so I'd say he's doing pretty good this season.
I just had to give you a little rub on that one.
So he's actually had quite the good year. And to me, what's impressive about this Oregon State team this year, again, they don't really have a main target in terms of receiving, but they've been able to utilize not only their wide receivers, but their tight end as well. This Jake Velling is very, very good.
So Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor need to take a little lesson from Oregon State then, get their tight ends involved.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they've been able to utilize different kinds of wide receivers. Again, this is a very, very different kind of an offense that I wouldn't even say just not Washington hasn't faced. I would say most teams haven't faced. And this is more of a traditional offense that you would face in the past in college football. And this defense is really, really good. As you allude to, Caleb, Washington got punched in the mouth a little bit by Utah, and that's with the 3rd string quarterback. We going into that Washington-Utah game last week, we were discussing the fact there's going to be only so many possessions to where Utah can stop Washington, but they almost won that game.
They almost did it.
They played Washington really tough, and I think in this environment with everything that's on the line, this is going to be an extremely tough game for Washington to win. And I like Oregon State in this game.
Well, as of right now, in the matchup predictors, Washington's being predicted 52.4% to win this game.
Yeah.
Okay.
According to Vegas, Oregon State is the point favorite by 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So, I mean, again, this is a coin flip game.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, with Oregon State trying to, because they're on the outside looking in as far as Pac-12 teams that are, getting new homes. Washington getting in with the Big Ten. Washington was able to knock off Oregon, the in-state rival for Oregon State. For Oregon State to come in here, even though it's at home, to come in, have Washington come in and knock them off after Oregon lost to them, that really, not just anything else, that's something right there where you can really have a leg to stand on as far as getting to another conference and getting a bid when your in-state rival couldn't beat the number 5 team in the country, but you're able to knock them off. That really helps them out there in that aspect. And,
exactly.
Gives them that leg up. I don't know with 2 losses that they could get into the, into the playoff picture unless there's a bunch of other losses that could catapult them up.
Yeah.
But
they could get into your 6th bowl. They could get into your 6th bowl for sure, though.
They could do. They could possibly, depending on losses. Like if Texas loses to Iowa State, and they beat Washington, they're definitely vaulting up. That's going to happen. But you need some other losses to happen.
Oh, sure. But I'm just saying Oregon State is number 11 in the CFP right now. And if they beat Washington. I'm not.
Which every Texas fan wants them to do.
Well, right, and so I'm not.
Absolutely.
Again, Oregon State's not getting the college football playoff, but they could get perhaps potential Rose Bowl bid. So I think that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's probably still going to be Washington and Oregon at this point.
Probably, but I'm just saying there's a chance. There's a path for them to get.
You're saying there's a chance.
There is a chance.
There's a chance.
There is a chance.
That's fine.
It is everybody's favorite segment. We took a break from it, but it'll be What the F with Jeff. We'll be back in just a moment.
What the f?
And welcome back from the break, as it's time for everyone's favorite segment, What the F with Jeff. So, Jeff, what the F?
Well, it finally happened. Jimbo Fisher was finally fired from Texas A&M. The long-awaited moment has finally happened. A&M finally bent over,
realized,
and gave $77 million
actually.
to well, depending on how
you got what, 19 million in 30 days. And then he got like so much money again, and like at the end of the year, he's getting $7 million, I think, per year till like 2030.
Jimbo Fisher, everyone talks about Bobby Bonilla Day. It's going to be Jimbo Fisher Day for the next 10 years after he gets his.
After seeing this payout, hey, I can go suck at being a college football coach. I'll take that payout.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
College football coaches got to be the dream job, because even if you get fired a lot of times, you get these fucking ridiculous payouts because these contracts are fucking stupid. They're
could you even
dumb.
be mad? I mean, if you're Jimbo Fisher, how do you be mad? I think it's a relief.
You can't. You go to the announcer's booth, make more money there on top of the money that A&M's paying you, and just sit back and smoke a victory cigar like Red Auerbach.
If he wants to do that. He doesn't have to do that. He can just go back and sit back and drink.
He can go fish. Yeah, he can go drink
Jim Beam all fucking day, whatever he wants to do. I mean, that's not chunk change. That's not like something you found in the couch.
This is funny. This will come from the athletics department and the 12th Man Foundation. So that's those are the funds that will pay Jimbo, but also this goes back to the ridiculousness of what college football athletics or college football contracts for coaches has turned into. The reason this contract extension happened is because A&M was afraid that LSU was going to get Jimbo Fisher away from A&M. They gave him essentially a lifelong contract with
they should let him
all guaranteed, which they should have let him get taken by LSU, obviously. And this goes up with the Mel Tucker contract of Michigan State.
A lot of these coaches get signed to just stupid contracts. I mean, this is not the first huge.
And so that's kind of my theme here. Will this be the catalyst to where athletic directors not only get their asses fired for giving these contracts, or will this be the catalyst for institutions to stop giving these guaranteed contracts to coaches to where, like, okay, fine, let his ass walk if we're going to have to give them this much money? Will this be the catalyst that actually lets this, stop?
I hope it is.
That prevents these contracts from signing.
I really hope it is.
That's my question.
I don't think it will, unfortunately. But
I mean, when it comes down to in Alabama, the highest paid government official is Nick Saban.
Yeah, because he's won 7 national championships.
It's ridiculous. That's not going to change in Alabama. I'm sorry, Saban's going to get
it's
paid
not
for
going to
as long as
change
he
in
wants
Texas,
to be
where
here.
Texas throws money at coaches. A&M has to throw money at coaches because Texas does it. Oklahoma does it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're looking at being the 7th or 8th best job in the SEC in their region and conference in this upcoming year. So, I mean, they've got to throw money at people. And that's with a great fan base, good facilities, great recruiting base, and they still have to throw money at coaches to come.
Well, I mean, even
pull
with
them
it
away
was
from it.
Jimbo was getting a lot of recruits in. It was just besides Winston.
I mean, it's hard to play in the
who
SEC,
has he
too.
won with?
No one.
I mean, yeah, he won in the ACC with James Winston, but at the same time, you're in a different conference now. You're in the SEC. He thought he waltzed into the SEC at A&M thinking he was going to do what he did with Florida State there in the ACC, and he was sadly humbled.
Well, they should have looked at his record before, too.
Well, it's also that also is Jimbo striking while the iron's hot, and he struck while the iron was hot.
He did.
I can't fault the guy for getting the contract and signing what he did. You have to fault these higher ups at A&M who had the knee-jerk reaction.
Athletic directors that need to be fired when it comes down to this. Like, if you're going to sign this stupid, ridiculous contract and waste billions of dollars, and to me, the students need to also be pissed at this because this is their fucking tuition money that you're paying these fucking outlandish fucking rates for to go to these big name schools.
Sure.
And shit it away. God,
they need to get rid of guaranteed
so much money.
They need to get rid of guaranteed contracts of this latitude because if you're going to sign somebody this, then if they suck, guess what? We're sucking because you're going to be here and be doing that because we're not going to pay you to not be here working. That needs to be held They need to be held accountable for that.
No shit, yeah.
Right, and that's the thing, and that goes back to Jimbo. He could have done whatever the fuck he wanted to for the next 10 years. He's locked in, guaranteed money. Now the only thing, about these guaranteed contracts, you could make the argument, all these contracts, are you doing what's best for the school? Are you preventing your team from winning? I mean, I would say you're preventing your team from winning with the way Jimbo is. Coaching.
Guarantee a portion of the money and then make the rest of it,
incentivized
bonus,
or
incentive.
Like, I don't mind paying a coach $20 million a year, but don't guarantee that $20 million for the next 20 fucking years type of shit. And that's a huge exaggeration, obviously, but I mean, you don't got to guarantee all of that money.
Yeah, but this all goes back to Jimbo, and again, he was paid guaranteed money to do this. So
he robbed, was it Kevin Smith, the AD at the time, who's already been fired from A&M? I think that was the AD that hired him.
Well, no. So that's the thing. The LSU athletic director at the time was the one that hired Scott Woodward. He hired Jimbo to be the head coach at Texas A&M, and he got there in 2000. Scott Woodward got there in 2016. Hired Jimbo at the end of the 2017 season, and then he went to LSU. He was believed to get Jimbo to come to LSU. A&M freaked out. They gave him that guaranteed money. Then that's when they decided to hire Brian Kelly. That's the only reason why Jimbo got that huge
Brian
contract.
Kelly brought out the worst impression of a Southern accent that's ever been heard at all time.
Me and my family.
I wanted to crawl into my TV and slap the taste out of his mouth.
Seriously.
Many LSU fans would have liked it if you did.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. But I think really the writing on the wall was when they lost to Appalachian State last year, 17-14 at home. When they had
as
all
that
those
meme
players.
goes, you paid them $40 million, I think, to come down and whoop your ass at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then they haven't won.
And they were happy to do it too.
They were. Appalachian State was happy, and Appalachian State's a good team.
They are a good
That's the
team. They're
problem.
not a slouch. They're not a team you can sit there and go, "Oh, we're paying them here for an easy win." No, they're gonna. If you let them, they will embarrass you, and they let them.
Yeah,
and also too, this was
made that mistake recently too. I think Oklahoma did it a couple years before that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Jimbo Fisher had not won a road game for Texas A&M since October of 2021. So that's another.
That's atrocious.
So that was another thing that's very bad. And if Appalachian State, that was obviously an indicator that things weren't going well. And I think the nail in the coffin for A&M this year was when they lost to Miami at the second week of the year. But I think this goes back to these athletic directors, actually growing a sack and not giving these guaranteed contracts. And also, too, if it comes from the president, then these presidents need to stop doing this, too. Now the question will be is where does A&M go next? Where does
I've heard from Oregon's head coach to the Lions head coach.
Yeah, Dan Campbell, former
to Duke's head coach. All because these people
have either
played to them or been at the Duke coach.
I'll tell you exactly right now who A&M needs to go after.
And who is that?
He is an assistant coach with the Texas Longhorns, former TCU head coach Gary Patterson.
That's the other rumor too. I was like, yep,
that's exactly who A&M should go after, in my opinion. I like Gary Patterson. I'd hate for him to go to the Aggies, but I think that would be a perfect fit for him. And
that's
for the
actually
team.
Well, that's actually who I said. That's actually who I said should have replaced Kevin Sumlin when all this was going down the first time. But I think I think Gary is a little. He may be done at this point.
He wants to get back into it.
He wants to get back into it.
He wants to get back into it.
That's the story.
Man, he'd need to be willing to take a pretty big, significant pay cut. If he's willing to do that,
I don't know if he get a pay cut. He might get a raise.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is he's not getting this like $10 million guaranteed.
He's not going to get what Jimbo got. No.
Yeah, no, A&M's going to be gun shy. They're not going to give the guaranteed money. They might give him a high year value, but it's not going to be the guaranteed year.
But also, I see Gary having a chip on his shoulder because right after he left TCU, they went to the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that really kind of got to him of, hey, I had this chance. And that chip is something that he's always had. That's what helped bring That's how he was able to bring TCU from the doldrums of the Mountain West into being a quality team, a ranked team through the Big 12 and actually, getting out and winning some, bowl games. So giving that opportunity, I think that gives him a chip on the shoulder. That's something to really motivate
it's
him.
Either got to be Gary Patterson or the Duke coach.
Who was an old
DC at Aggies. But
yeah, I think the logical choice would be Mike Elko. He was a successful defensive coordinator at A&M, and he has done a masterful job at Duke thus far, considering what they've been able to do. Almost knocked off North Carolina this week. It should have knocked off North Carolina this weekend. Knocked off Clemson at the start of the year. They're going to make another bowl game. He's had a very successful career thus far at Duke. I think that'd be probably the most likely scenario. One name I want to throw out there, and again, I hate to be this guy. I really do. So don't murder me. Don't kill me for this. But would you sell your soul to the devil to get Urban Meyer?
No. Boo. Boo. No.
Why not? Meyer. Just tell me why not. I'm not disagreeing with you based on.
I feel like he's a cancer to every school he's been to.
To me,
Florida, he's a little like Harden, kind of like Okay, now this is getting tough, or sanctions are about to be coming. I need to move on. Oh, I have heart attacks. I can't coach anymore from Florida. Oh, my heart's fine now. I'm going to Ohio State, guys. Sorry.
True, but he has the national championships.
He hasn't won since what, 2009?
Well,
or excuse me, 2005. 2005, right?
Well, 2014 season, he won the national championship for Ohio State, and then he won 2 national championships at Florida.
To me,
I think this was also before the new playoff system was put in too.
It was
right, which makes it more.
So he hasn't won. To me, more impressive.
To me, if Urban Meyer comes back, he's coming back into the Big Ten. He's not walking back to the SEC, and he's not going to walk back into the same part of the SEC as Nick Saban. He's not going to do it because Urban Meyer is a pussy, and he's going to put himself in the best situation to win. To me,
he's going to go to the ACC most likely.
to me, Urban Meyer's #1 landing spot is if Jim Harbaugh is ousted at Michigan, that he's going to try and come take the Michigan job. Because that's a team that's set up to win. And he doesn't have to build it up. He can win now. And then when things go south, then he can fucking get out of Dodge. Mm-hmm. To me, that's my most likely landing spot for Urban Meyer is Michigan.
Sanctions might be the only thing that keeps him from going after that job. If he's like, well, I can't go to the bowl game for 2 years or whatever. I don't think it's going to be that hard.
Well, that also comes down as if they put the sanctions all on Jim Harbaugh and not on the program.
Which I know, but I guess it's going to be on the program.
You have to remember. You have to remember when Urban Meyer took that job at Ohio State that first year, he went undefeated, and they had the Jim Tressel sanctions and
the Tressel. Yep. Mm-hmm.
They went undefeated. They couldn't do anything after that. So I don't think he's done that before, and I think he could be willing to do that again.
It's possible.
But so
Jim Tressel with the vests.
With the sweater vest.
Mr. Sweater Vest.
Sweater Vest. Mr. Sweater Vest, actor from Youngstown. With Maurice Claret. I was thinking about Maurice Claret just the other day.
But I think what you do if you're
I know, random person to think about. But
yeah,
I think if you're A&M, I think you make everyone's talking about Dan Lanning, Mike Elko. I think those are very, I don't think Dan Lanning is going to leave, to be honest with you. But also too, keep your eye out for Kalen DeBoer. I mean, look at the job he's done at Washington this far. Everyone wants to talk about Dan Lanning. He's the young, kind of sexy name, but Kalen DeBoer has done fantastic things at Washington thus far.
Why are you gonna leave Washington to go to Texas A&M? Why are you gonna leave Washington? Were you going to the Big Ten? I'm asking that question. I'm just asking the question. Why are you going to leave a team going to the Big Ten to go to a lower tier SEC team? Yeah, you're in the SEC, but it's not like you're taking over Texas or Oklahoma that's coming in at a hot team.
I think he was saying the Washington guy going to Michigan border. I think he was saying.
I'm talking about A&M.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah,
my bad.
So no, I mean I agree with you. I'm just saying if I'm A&M, these are guys.
I mean, if you were taking over, say, Florida, you got a better shot because Florida has had more success. Because since A&M has gone over to the SEC, they've done jack and shit.
Right. What all I'm simply saying
is counting one Manziel year.
One Manziel year.
I'm not saying that if I were him, I would do it. I'm not saying if Dan Lanning, I'd do it. I'm not saying if I'm Dan Campbell, I'd do it. I'm just saying these are guys
I can tell you right now
that A&M needs to consider
they would be.
They can consider Dan Campbell all they want to, but Dan Campbell is not leaving what he's doing to Detroit.
Oh, no.
Again,
there's not the Oregon coach
a pipe dream too.
I completely agree with you on all three of those counts. What I'm just saying is, that guys that A&M should probably make phone calls to, I think
if Jimbo would have got fired
test
last
the waters
year,
as you go. I mean,
if
you aim for
Jimbo
the stars, and hopefully you'll land somebody.
If Jimbo would have got fired last year like he should have, they might have had a chance to pull Dan Campbell. They might have had a chance. But after this year, with Detroit leading the North and doing what they're doing, there's no way he's leaving.
Is last year, would you have wanted Dan Campbell the way Detroit was?
I
mean,
we saw good
things, but
that's another thing.
That was a middling team.
Caleb, you make a very good point there. Would you even want Dan Campbell last year?
I absolutely want to, because I even said last year at the end of the season, I go, look, Detroit did not fill up to potential, but you could see the change in this team's mentality.
I'm saying
that Dan Campbell is taking this over. I know you agree with it, but I said that last year. I would have taken him.
The people ablaze and made people happy. Who knows? I mean,
you would have had a former A&M guy coming in to take over.
In the NFL. I think they
would have been extremely happy about it.
Now the problem is, I don't know if he can recruit. That might be the only thing. Is can he recruit? Can Dan Campbell recruit?
That is, and does he want to spend his time recruiting?
True.
Also, too, I'm going to bring up two candidates. One that I'm not going to discuss too much, but another one that I think is could be a very interesting deal. The first candidate I'm going to bring up is Oregon State's Jonathan Smith, a guy who's done a fantastic job at Oregon State, who's turned around a dog shit program and made them into being a nationally relevant team.
You were all about the Beaver.
Right.
In more ways than one.
No, you're just fully focused on that Beaver.
No,
fully focused, like zoned in.
I'm always zoned in on the Beaver. But the thing is, I think that could be a phone call you can make. He turned around a program that was dog shit and who's had success. He was a great offensive coordinator under Chris Peterson. He was offensive coordinator that took Washington to the playoff that year when they played Alabama. To get Washington to that level is impressive.
Was that the Mike Leach year?
No, that was the Chris Peterson year in 2017, I believe, or 2016, I believe, actually. 2016, I believe, is the year. But anyways, one guy that no one has talked about and that I think could actually be interesting is James Franklin from Penn State. How many times have we discussed on this program to where Penn State cannot ever beat Ohio State? They can never beat Michigan. And I wonder if James Franklin is thinking, I've done all I can do with this program. I'm a hell of a recruiter. I can get talent to Texas A&M. I've been in the SEC before. I turned around Vanderbilt from a dog shit program into being a competitive program that consistently made bowl games when I was there. If I could do this at A&M, I've nowhere to. I'm at a rock and a hard place here at Penn State. I've done what I can do. Maybe I should just move on and take A&M's money instead. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility.
I actually think that would be. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I don't hate it.
That's not the end of the world.
I don't want. I'm always going to root against A&M, but at the same time, especially with Texas moving into the SEC, with competing again and renewing that rivalry. It's the same thing like as a Cowboy fan. Like, I'm glad the Eagles are good because it makes us test ourselves and you want to beat the best. I don't want to just, it's fun beating the dog shit Giants, but you know what? It'd be better if Daniel Jones was in there. At least you had the best players in there and then you're beating the pants off of them. But, I mean, not saying that he's the best coach to come in, but I think he's a great recruiter. I think he could be serviceable as a head coach coming in. If that's the way he wants to go, if he thinks I can come in and turn this program around and they've got a good recruiting already have got a bunch of good recruits here that I can even bring more into. I never thought that was a potential, so I'm glad you brought that up. Of that actually kind of I'm intrigued by that. I'm actually intrigued by it. The Oregon State didn't. That to me that doesn't seem like a reality. I don't think you would, but yeah, they're Penn State. I can see that. That honestly, that should be a phone call that should be made. I could see that.
It could.
That intrigues me. It really intrigues me. I didn't think it would. When you first brought it up, I wasn't sure about it. But as you discussed, gave your points, I'm intrigued. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling it. I'm liking it now. I'm starting to like it.
The thing is, I just randomly thought about this now. I haven't seen this on any coaching boards, any coaching possible replacements for A&M. I'm just thinking outside the box.
There you go.
Well, maybe the higher ups at A&M should start listening to the podcast, and maybe they'll get a couple ideas from us. Well, anyways, great. What the F with Jeff? Where we're going with all that?
If James Franklin gets the job, I'll get y'all a beer or something.
Hey, sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Send me up some Lone Star from up here because I need a Lone Star.
Lone Star sucks.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Lone
Star does not suck. Lone Star is amazing. It's a quality beer at a quality price. You shut your mouth.
Well, no, it's not a quality price because the fucking hipsters ruined it.
I could still find it at a quality price when I was down there. Now, maybe the hipsters ruined it since then, but up here we have Iron City. And Iron City basically has the same color coordination as Lone Star.
It's probably Lone Star, just in a different.
Well, when I got it, my wife goes, "Of course, you found the Lone Star of Pennsylvania." And I did. And my father-in-law loves it too. We drink at Iron City, that and PBR. We gotta love it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, we're PBR guys now. Quality beer at a quality price.
Hipster.
Hey, for $9.99 for a 6-pack, it's not because I'm a hipster. It's because I like cheap beer.
I agree with you, but you're a hipster now. So.
You put that curse on Ricky Bobby.
I prefer old guy because all the old guys on my wife's side of the family drink PBR, and they're not fucking hipsters. They're old.
I used to drink
difference between old and hipster, though. Those are different things.
I used to drink PBR, but the hipsters took that over.
They haven't taken it over.
You mean David?
David Hitt. Is that the hipster you're talking about?
No. I'm talking about Cooper Weinsteins of the world that took it over.
Well, screw that. If they're giving PBR money, I don't care. I drink it because it's cheap. That's why I drink it.
Right.
I like PBR.
I'd rather spend $9.99 on a 12-pack than $15.99 for a 12-pack.
If I have documented proof that the hipsters have stopped drinking that, I'll start drinking PBR.
Documented proof?
I don't care. I don't care what other people are drinking. I'm going to drink what I want to drink, and I don't give a rat's ass. I'm drinking $9.99 for a 12-pack PBR because.
Well, I'm just not going to pay $5 for a pint of PBR because some hipsters like it.
Where are you paying $5 a pint of PBR? At Applebee's, it's $1. That's their dollar beer at Applebee's.
The hipsters fucked it up.
Back in college, I drank PBR because no one else would drink it. That way, I could sit there and just have my beer.
You know what? I'll do? I'll bring this as a report for next week. I'm going to go somewhere and get a PBR on tap, and then if it's a reasonable price, then I'll start drinking it.
All right. You do the field research for us and let us know how it goes.
All right, that's next. A little preview of next week's What the F with
beer review.
PBR, hipster and
yes.
And that's about a wrap here for What the F with Jeff. We'll be back here in just a moment with the Sports Gumbo.
That's good. Man, that's good. That's what you call gumbo. Poor man gumbo.
And welcome back from the break. we're ready to jump here into the Sports Gumbo, where we can hit any of the topics that we weren't able to hit in the main segments, and just a sprinkle of any other sports going along right through that. And we'll go ahead and jump in there. Caleb, I know you had a few things you wanted to jump into that we hadn't touched yet.
Yes. First, hallelujah. We're going to be done with Bollies and the Diamond Sports Group for the Rangers. Their contract is going to end in 2024 due to the bankruptcy court ruling. So the Rangers will have to get a new contract with a new TV service. So we'll have to see how it goes. But hopefully this releases it to where more people can actually watch and enjoy the Rangers, especially in this time of great winning as it goes on. The other thing I wanted to touch on is the Rule 5 draft. So the Rangers have protected 4 of their top 30 prospects and left 1 out there available to be had. I'm going to move this over, so I'm sorry. Give me just a second. So the prospects are Justin Fusco, number 6. Infielder, right-handed pitcher Mark Church, number 19. Right-handed pitcher Jose Cornell, 23. Left-handed pitcher Antonio Kelly, and right-handed pitcher Winston Santos, 27. Of their top 5 of their top 30 that are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Only Santos is not protected, so Santos will be eligible to be picked, while the rest will be protected. So, I mean, do any of those really necessarily matter in the Rangers' plans in the future? Maybe Fusco and maybe Church be the ones I'd say offhand, but the others are still a little ways out there in development and whatnot. You got anything, Jeff?
Yeah,
Looks like you want to mention those guys.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump in on Justin Foscue and Mark Church. I mean, those are guys that I've seen a lot going to Frisco Rough Riders games these past.
Great stadium, great place to go.
Yeah, great stadium, fun time, good lazy river.
Yep.
Couple seasons, and Foscue had a great year at AAA this year. Had a great year in AA last year. First round pick in 2020. So I think that is someone that you want to protect. Now, I don't see necessarily he's a second baseman, so I don't know where his features.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know if he's going to be able to get in, but my guess is he's going to be a trade bait, possibly for a starting pitcher or possibly for reliever or something.
Yeah,
I see him being traded.
Reality is that that's someone that you have to protect. I mean, that to me, you cannot let a guy like that be taken in the Rule 5 draft. So most certainly you have to protect him, and I think there is some sort of potential there, at least for trade bait. Now, in terms of Mark Church, I personally have seen enough from him. To me, all the physical attributes are great. He throws. He's fun to watch. I'll say that he throws very fast, and he's able to get a lot of strikeouts. But at the same time, it's just at this level, he hasn't established enough control, and I feel like there's been enough tread on the tires at this point to where
you don't think he's going to have a Randy Johnson moment where he's going to figure it out?
No, I mean at the very best, he's just someone that you would throw into the bullpen.
Well, they need bullpen help.
No, but I'm just saying that that's just someone that you would throw in. It's just rate of peas. Now, to me, the guy that intrigues me the most, and I've watched Antoine Kelly for 2.5 years at this point, and this guy is fascinating to me because this is a guy that is a left-handed pitcher who throws 100 miles an hour. Now, granted, you don't know where it's going, but this is a guy that
So that's Randy Johnson-esque right there.
Yeah.
It got to the point last year watching him play in Frisco to where I thought that how horrible the bullpen was for the Rangers with that speed and that change of pace from the throwing from the left-handed side. This was someone that could be.
Is it worth kicking the tires on?
Yes, exactly. And so I feel that
the bullpen's so wide open. I feel like the spring roster invites are going to be quite large for pitchers this year.
Yeah,
there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to.
And so, but again, the only thing is, and this is the same thing we've seen from Antoine Kelly for the past 2.5 years, is that there's so much potential there. I mean, you would love to have a guy that has 100-mile-an-hour fastball that pitches out. That's a left-hander, and he is so good. But also, too, there's a question, from just from the Mitchell standpoint, he gets very frustrated on the mound when things don't go his way. This is somebody that doesn't really take a liking to any kind of criticism whatsoever or any kind of coaching whatsoever. With that being said,
trade his ass. Sounds like that's what you're going to do.
No, but with that being said, again, this is someone that, in my mind, could have been called up this year to help out the Rangers bullpen. He is that good. You just have to be very, very patient with him. The question is now is that he's getting up in age, but I think there's still time for him, and just watch out for this guy, particularly next year. Probably, I would say probably, May or June of next year. This is a guy I think that's probably going to pitch some innings for the Rangers, and it's going to be a very fascinating experience.
7 innings total for the year? You said 7. He's going to pitch 7 innings.
No, I said no. I
7
said
innings for the year, or 7 innings. You expect him to get 7 innings every showing.
No, I said fast. No, I didn't say 7. I said fascinating experience to watch. So
I thought you said you'll be seeing him next year pitching 7 innings.
Oh, he's gonna be our 7th inning guy. Is what he meant. No.
Oh, okay. 7th inning. I thought you said.
No, I didn't say 7th
innings.
I said no. Yeah. I said.
I go, well, what am I looking forward to if he's coming in just in relief and only going to pitch 7 innings of the year? What am I, okay?
No, this is going to be a fascinating experience to watch. So what I'm saying is that I think you'll see him throw some innings in May or June, and I think he can be in some situational innings to where, if a reliever's banged up or at some point, I think you could easily see him getting called up. But just between the ears, he needs to work it out. But a very fascinating prospect with someone that can throw 100 miles an hour.
We'll have to see how he does.
Well, it absolutely helps that you have Mike Maddox as your pitching coach.
Agreed.
Who is
and I think you've got that clubhouse too that could set somebody straight if he thinks he's a little uppity. But we'll see.
Very true. I mean, they have made it where it's all about the team.
Yeah.
And that's the culture that's been built there. So
right. So my next thing I want to say though,
Cordial. Sorry, I just want to bring.
All right, go ahead.
Bring up Cordial real quick, considering you brought him up. I'm just saying that he has the potential to be a starting pitcher, probably at the higher levels, but I really kind of see probably when everything comes to fruition for him, I see him more as kind of like a setup man at best, and then maybe just kind of a situational guy. But I was a little surprised that they protected him.
At the end of the day, as long as Wyatt Langford is not being unprotected, I don't care.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's who I care about.
Again, you don't have to rule. Yeah. You don't have to worry about
Jesus and Madison, we're good.
Yes.
Yeah, he's safe.
Exactly. We know he's safe. We all know he's safe, but I just like knowing that he's safe.
But also, but again,
he's not even eligible for the Rule 5.
But I think it's nice to see that these players are being protected. But again, this will be it for Foscue. He needs to.
It's put up or shut up time. Shit or get off the pot.
Well, I'm glad they protected.
He's either going to come in and be the David Murphy, probably the I relieve everybody, play every position type of guy.
I think what this was. I think what this was is to protect him so they could keep him on the roster and then trade him. That's my opinion.
That's possible.
It's possible. It's very, very possible.
Yeah. So the other surprising news that I found personally was dealing with the University of Arizona. Somehow, this university, not just the athletic department, the university as a whole, has misplaced $240 million.
I don't see the problem.
Not on their budget. Right.
I mean, the national government misplaces that in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin Sumlin and Rich Rodriguez have a bunch of that money.
They probably do. So I mean, there's talks about draconian cuts happening too at the University of Arizona, in particular with sports. So they may just lose, say, the swim team outright. They may lose this sport or that sport. It may just go away with them needing these funds back.
That happens when these boosters, when this money is mishandled in those ways, and that's why you have to have the right people in place, the right athletic director in place, who's not going to embezzle this money.
It's not just athletics. It's not money. It's the president's office that has reported it, not the athletics saying, "Hey, we're misplaced 240." This is the university as a whole.
But that's also where a majority of these universities' money is being spent.
They do,
and the reason is it's being spent because that's where they have the most income being brought in.
Well, you would hope, but Arizona's athletics reported a loss of $591,000, which isn't a huge loss, but that's still a loss overall for the entire.
Well, of course, it's a loss because their Arizona banks on their basketball program being in their main.
That's their main draw.
Revenue. It is. Now, yes, their football team has
been surprisingly good
this year, but that's not something they guarantee generate revenue from.
I said surprisingly.
I know you did. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
They don't guarantee on the foot. They're going to be striking while the iron's hot with their football team and trying to get as much revenue from them as they can because it's always the basketball team that brings them revenue.
Oh yeah, no. But
DeAndre Ayton.
It's just like, how do you misplace or miscalculate $240 million?
No,
that's crazy.
It's over in the drawer somewhere.
It might be. I hope it is.
No, that's
some of these athletic departments because
it's complete embezzlement
cut at Arizona, and it's going to happen.
It is going to happen, but it's complete embezzlement.
It could be. It could be. I don't know. There's nothing to show that it's embezzlement at the moment or anything nefarious. But like I said, I mean, there could be more reports coming out soon. It'll be like, oh, president had it.
You don't just lose $240 million. Like that just doesn't it's not like the South Park episode of, oh, you're invested in here. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't just disappear for no reason.
You would think
somebody has it.
The only thing they pointed out so far that's come out is that there might be a loan and interest payments have come back to hurt Arizona because there was a $55 million athletic loan that went out to the athletic department during the peak of COVID, most likely for COVID renovations at the time. And that loan has not been paid back on as quickly as they thought. So interest payments might be a little bit of that, but that doesn't make sense to me to be the main cause.
No, that's not the main
Like
cause.
I said, I mean, I hope it's not embezzlement, but it could highly be. And like I said, I mean, the Big 12 schools average about 17 sports per school. Arizona has more than that currently that it fields, and that's from table tennis to football to basketball, gymnastics, whatever. So most likely some of these sports that Arizona knows are going away.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say what I can't figure out is with a school filled with 50,000 students like Arizona has this problem.
Yeah, I agree. Possible? That's why I was like, what happened? How much?
And also too, why does Arizona suck at everything? Why are they only good at college basketball? They have an enrollment of 50,000. Arizona State has an enrollment of 60,000.
I mean, Arizona State
embezzlement. They're not spending the money on the program. They're embezzling the money. Let me say it louder for the people in the back.
I like how he says this with no proof, Jeff. I like how he says it with absolutely no proof, just to like.
No proof. No, that's what it is. It's embezzlement. I'm telling you right now.
But the thing is,
I'm laying my bet on that.
It's possible.
I'm laying on it.
I'm not going to deny it.
But if you're Arizona State, just put in your fucking football team and then
give me can anyone give me a better plausible reason than embezzlement? Can you?
Oh.
Give me a better reason. Give me a better reason. You lose $240 million that you can't account for. Tell me. Give me. I'll take anything, and I'll say, okay, that's a reasonable explanation.
I gave you the loan. Does the loan not count? Does the loan?
No, because that doesn't cover it.
I know
it covers a portion.
Right.
I don't say it covers all of it. What I'm saying is, if you're Arizona or in this particular case, I think Arizona State is victim of this too. Why are you?
Well, Arizona State does have money problems. That's why they're leasing land, which is what Arizona may look at doing now too.
Well, Arizona's a land-grant university too, so
that's what I'm saying. When they lease land, they're going to get money, and moving to the Big 12 is going to help them too, supposedly.
Yeah, but my point is that maybe they should stop investing so much money into sports that don't matter, investing into sports that actually generate income.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're probably losing your table tennis and your other random sports that don't do jack.
Well, they're winning swimming, they're winning baseball, softball. Sure, that's great. But
I mean, those are your major sports you're thinking of. I mean, there could be some random thing.
That's what I'm saying. They need to start investing in those sports.
You're not going to get rid of baseball. That's not going to happen. But yeah, table tennis. What? Okay, you giving guys scholarships for table tennis. Okay, what are they going to do with table tennis after that? Not a goddamn.
The Olympics, sir. The Olympics. I don't know.
Hey,
I have no.
A bunch of beer drinking dads went and won the gold medal in curling. So don't tell me Olympics and table tennis. Come on.
What about rowing?
Yeah, rowing. Sir.
I could go out and learn how to row and go and compete.
They
in
have
Olympics.
23 varsity teams. That is a lot of freaking teams.
What are they?
List way too many.
I don't know. It just says they have 23. It doesn't list them for me. I'm trying to find out what all they have.
That's a conversation for another time.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to find out more obviously as this goes on, but that's just ridiculous that a university like that can misplace $240 million.
Oh, absolutely absurd. Absolutely
it's just
absurd.
Stupid.
It's embezzlement. That's what it is. I stand by it. I'm throwing my bet down. It's embezzlement.
Not gonna be like, I don't got a better answer for you, unfortunately.
All right, just a little blip here in the gumbo. We'll talk a little bit of basketball. Mavericks getting the big win over the Washington.
Nice win tonight.
130. What was it? 130 to what? 111 something.
Yeah.
Either way,
right.
with their win
130 to
and
117.
and with Phoenix's win over Minnesota, Mavericks go up to second in the West behind Denver, leading their division.
Woo-hoo.
9-3 with a half game lead over Minnesota.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
And can we all agree that this in-season tournament shit is total bullshit?
Absolutely
It
ridiculous.
is.
There's no reason for it. They tried it. They tried to help bring a little bolster because everybody realizes that the regular season doesn't really matter. They're trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't matter. They tried it. Good for them for trying something. It needs to be done away with next year. There's no reason for this. It's stupid.
Yeah, and the fact that you're trying to make everybody have to like it, force feeding it, is I think leading to its ultimate downfall. It's like I don't give a shit about some random fucking March game just because it's part of this fucking tournament. I don't care.
Yeah. No one cares.
Does Luka need $50,000? You can't even pay players to warm up for $50,000.
Nope.
No, I think it was a good. I think I'll give Silver a gold star for effort. Hey, he's at least trying something. It's better than just not doing anything and just saying whatever. Hey, I'll give him an A for effort. He's trying on this part. Did it fail? Yes, it did. But you know what? It's not like he's sitting there just going, "Well, we're gonna succeed in the playoffs. We'll get ratings in the playoffs." No, he's at least trying something. Okay, it blew up in his face, but you know what? I'd rather it blow up in his face than him just not do anything at all. At least he tried something. At least he tried.
Instead of looking like the crazy wet fish that he is.
Yeah.
Normally looking out there.
I mean, he's got that. The thing is, Adam Silver was fucked from the beginning because as much as we all
had big shoes to fill.
Well, as much as everyone hated David Stern,
he was arguably one of the best commissioners in NBA history.
In sports history, from the way that he brought the NBA from an obscure league to a top tier league. Now, that helped that he embraced Michael Jordan and that whole aspect to bring that in. But what David Stern did, and everyone hated him while he was the commissioner. But at the same time, the way he brought the NBA to what it is now, he brought it from a second tier sport to one of the top 4 sports.
Oh yeah, for sure.
At the time, possibly like during the Michael Jordan era, possibly number 1 sport in the country at that time. I mean, it really, really was. But so those were big shoes to fill. So I mean, I appreciate him trying to do something different, trying to do something. Did it blow up in his face? It absolutely has. But you know what? At least he tried something. He wasn't just sitting there just going, just milking the teat of I'm making my money. And the NBA will make their money later. He actually seems like he's invested in trying to do things. And hey, you tried and you failed. I'm okay with it. Keep trying. As long as he keeps trying different things until, hey, at least the guy's trying. I can't fault him for that.
I'll give you that. I mean,
if the third or fourth time he tries something that fails just like this has, okay, at this point, okay, now we need someone in here who needs to know what they're doing.
Yeah, we need someone else to come up with ideas, please.
Exactly. But this is the first time he's actually tried to do something with it, so I'm giving him a little bit of leeway. It's not like he just became commissioner and he tried something. He gave it some time. He got his footing as commissioner. And now he's trying something. Hey, it failed. Okay. This is the first thing you've actually tried and failed. I'll give you a little bit right there. I mean, to me, commissioners are a dime a dozen. It doesn't matter what name you put up there. You've got to have the right guy. You only have the David Stearns,
Yeah.
Everybody still hates Goodell.
Rudy. Whoever was before Rudy Jovanovic too.
I mean,
honestly, like we grew up in great commissioners. We just didn't know it. I mean, baseball had a good commissioner at the time. Football, NBA. Excuse me.
It was nice to tell my wife when the Rangers won, and her going, "Who is that right there?" I go, "That's Bob Manfred. He's the commissioner of the Major League Baseball." She goes, "Who?"
He's a dipshit.
Yeah, he is a dipshit, but still. I mean,
well, I do want to.
We all say that about Goodell too,
and I want to praise the Pacers for a second because they're doing something very surprising in my opinion, which is looking like one of the much better teams, or one of the top 4 teams out in the East, which I didn't expect this year. I expect to make the playoffs, but I figured they'd be down by the 8th
because there are some good teams out in the East with Philly and Boston.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, they've averaged 120 points for the last 7 games, including 152 outbursts against the Spurs.
Coach Carlisle.
Yeah. And they've got a point guard who's had 32 assists and 0 turnovers in the past 2 games.
I saw that stat the last 2 games. 32 assists and 0 turnovers.
Tyrese Halliburton is a hell of a player.
Halliburton.
I mean he's incredible, and also too, Bennett Mathurin. I think he's someone that could contribute to this team, at least from an offensive perspective. I'm not sure what he could contribute from a defensive perspective, but then obviously too, you have Miles Turner. So, but one thing that's interesting about the Pacers though is that they did get Bruce Brown from the Nuggets this year. So
I thought was an underrated. That was an underrated free agency signing. Very underrated.
If you're looking for a defensive presence, then there's one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Who has championship credentials.
Exactly.
Right. Well, the other one I wanted to bring up, kind of a little bit of niceness, a little bit of this is a little fucked up, but whatever. Fun times. I liked it. It brought back the 90s NBA for me. We had a nice little fight between the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. So I had no problem with the fight itself. It was fine. It was brought on by chicken shit, of course, but there was like pulling jerseys and swinging people around. And then Draymond Green put Rudy Gobert in a headlock, and of course he got ejected, which Rudy afterwards said, anytime Steph's already been ejected, I know Draymond's looking for any reason to get the fuck out of that game.
So I agree.
That's why I put me in that
and honestly, I don't think that was good. And I think that, and like you said, I think that was an awful thing that Draymond Green did, because he escalated. He escalated a situation that didn't need to be escalated whatsoever.
Yeah. And this was Clay and McDaniels, I think, just kind of shipping a little, then swinging around each other.
Back in the day, there were reasons to fight. Draymond Green is just starting a fight for the sake of starting a fight, and then he can go on his podcast later and claim like, "Oh, I'm an old school player because I fought." Just like, no, you're not. You're a fucking bully. You're a piece of shit.
It came down today that Draymond Green was given a 5-game unpaid
5-game
suspension.
Which
This
was deserved.
This is his 5th career suspension.
Crazy.
And so, I mean, to me, Draymond Green, he does it because he can talk about it on his podcast. He says, I mean, they even talked about last year, we talked about it as we were doing our pre-broadcast, getting ready to start this podcast, about the fight he had, at the beginning of the season with Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
Right.
Which they got, and that really, I think, set the whole tone as they were the champions, but they were in preseason fighting each other. That they weren't going to repeat. This team did not have the cohesiveness that they had the season before. And obviously they didn't have it the season before because they were sitting there getting into a fist fight during, preseason warm-ups, practice against you. It's not like it was, playing against another team. They're playing against each other. So,
right. And like you said, again, as I said before, I mean, this is just you're not being old school. You're just being a fucking dickhead, and this is absolutely ridiculous. And thankfully, I mean, both games, the rules won, and this nonsense that Draymond Green is doing now. He's just not a relevant player anymore. Stuff like this is just him trying to get attention. He hasn't been a relevant player probably in about 4 or 5 years at this point. He can't stay healthy anymore. And for whatever reason, people think he's a Hall of Fame player, which I think is absolute horseshit. He's not even remotely close.
They only bring that up because of the championships he's won, but at the same time, Robert already won more championships than him, and he's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
And not to mention, Draymond Green himself cost them another championship because if he didn't get suspended, they would have won that NBA championship in 2016, and LeBron would never have had a championship in Cleveland.
Firmly agreed on that one. All right. Well, as we're bouncing around just a few things in the gumbo, I'm going to bring up. I'm actually bringing up soccer. I'm bringing up soccer.
Huh?
Yes, exactly. English.
You hate soccer. You hate soccer. You always say that.
I do. But my son is into watching English Premier League on Saturday and Sunday mornings before other games start. Because
it's a lot of fun.
It's the only sport on TV until things start off at noon or 1 p.m. up here on the East Coast. So my son has gotten really into it. He's picked Arsenal as his team. So we're now Arsenal fans. On Saturday, Arsenal was able to get a 3-1 win over Burnley. But we didn't get that game up here. But the game that we did get was the I'll make sure I say it all correctly. Come on. It was the Wolverhampton Wolves versus Tottenham. And Tottenham is the number 2 team going in the English Premier League right now. Manchester City's number 1. Tottenham's number 2. Tottenham went into extra time 1-0. And Wolverhampton, the Wolves were able to score 2 goals in extraordinary fashion. Able to get both goals in extra time and take the win, steal the win. And this win was in Tottenham's home field. So that's very, very surprising. It was a great game. One of the best games I've seen through there. And on Sunday, I actually watched this game because it all came on right before football came on. And this game ended up finishing up as the 1 o'clock games were going. And my son wanted to finish watching it. So we watched it during lunch till we switched over. But Chelsea and Man City, as I said earlier, Manchester City's number 1 team. And Chelsea getting the tie. And it was 3-3 going into the end of the game. Manchester City getting a goal, taking the 4-3 lead, and Chelsea getting a penalty kick, which was an obvious penalty. I mean, even me as myself and my wife, who don't know crap about soccer, going, that's a penalty.
Right, we know that's not right.
They took him out. So they were able to get it in, and then Chelsea scoring on that penalty kick to be able to tie the game in. It was, I think, 7 minutes extra time. So 5 minutes into the extra time, they only had 2 minutes left. They were able to score that penalty kick. It was huge, able to tie the game. Huge tie for Chelsea, which, even my son's going, "Hey, well, they didn't win." I go, "Yeah, I know it's a tie. It's confusing. I understand." But sometimes in this sport, tying is okay.
Right.
Right. And also too, I feel just on a minor note, even though that Manchester City did tie the game, one thing that I do feel good about, at least, it doesn't matter. Everyone knows who on an international level who Erling Haaland is, but I think it's good that he's playing in Manchester City right now, and that he's got that exposure, at least from the American perspective, that he's one of the elite players in soccer right now and is continuing to produce like he did in the Bundesliga, if not better than he did in the Bundesliga, like he did for Dortmund and Leipzig, I believe, prior to his performance in Dortmund for the Bundesliga. It's good for him to get that exposure because, playing for Norway, he's really carried that national team. And I don't know if there'll ever be a point to where Norway can get back to the World Cup like they did in the mid-'90s. So
sometimes that happens when you've only got a couple players there. I did want to touch on one last game before we wrap up the gumbo, and just this is throwing out to my wife's family who are big West Hampton fans. The Hammers were able to get the 2-win over Nottingham Forest. My brother-in-law is a Nottingham Forest fan just because he believes they're the New York Jets of the English Premier League, and they have a tree as their logo. So he's taken on that and enjoyed it, and that was a good in-family text message chain going on during that game right there.
Nottingham Forest?
Nottingham Forest, yes. My
my
brother-in-law and my wife's cousin.
Well, I know who Nottingham Forest is, but I'm just like, why?
They believe that they're the only two non-English fans of Nottingham Forest. And they took on because they picked the team because it was a tree as the logo, and they looked like they were the Jets of the English Premier League, which they pretty much are.
So good.
When you look at it,
horrible.
They're the New York Jets of the English Premier League.
Who's
prove me wrong?
No, what I'm saying though is I think there are a couple guys on there that are fun, and they're both Belgian players too. Is that Aurel Mangala, who's a midfielder?
Well, honestly, the only reason myself and my son picked Arsenal is because their logo was a cannon. I had no idea about English Premier League. I picked them because they were a cannon. That's the only reason.
Oh no,
and now I'm starting to pay attention to it more.
My best friend from high school, he was a huge Arsenal fan back in the day, and then this is back in the day when they were contending for English Premier League championships, and they were at the top of the level. And then pretty much these past, prior to maybe last year or even this year, they were just kind of finishing in the middle of the pack. But it's good to see them be relevant again. And then
they're third right now in the league and going into the championship area. So
yeah, as far as Belgian players are concerned, that Aurel Mangala, that midfielder that Nottingham has, and he's a fun player to watch. He's very young though, so we'll see how that works out. The thing with Nottingham though is they don't have any goal scorers right now. So
that's true. They really don't.
Well, this is making the Jets then. Good defense, no offense.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why they're rooting for them. Well, guys, I've had a great time. I hope everyone else has a good time. Please comment, like our YouTube videos here, subscribe, join us. We'd like to have you ask questions, bring up what you want us to bring up and talk about. I'd like to thank Caleb and Jeff for taking time, coming and join us here today. This is Chris Porter, and we'll see everyone again on the next round. Cheers.
Cheers.